Hi, Fikiri, how are you?
I'm fine. And you?
Great. I am doing very well. So,
Yeah.
as you know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Pat Morris, and I'm the president of Women Thrive Worldwide. And it's so wonderful to have you here visiting with us in Washington, D.C., all the way from Burundi.
Yeah. Even me, it's a great pleasure for me to be here with you today.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
Well, you know, your organization, the Youth Coalition Against Gender Based Violence, is a member of Women Thrive's Global Partners Network. And so we're really happy to welcome you here. And we are just so pleased that you've been able to go around the city, meet with some of the partners and some of the decision makers here in Washington, D.C., to talk about all the really good work that you're doing in Burundi.
Yeah. So it is among what will help our organization to grow. And as we know, it is very important to build a network of other people, other organizations. And also, I'm very happy to have an organization like Women Thrive to be among partner organizations. And I think that this will really help in the work we are doing, will help our organization to keep on growing, to keep on really having an impact in the communities we are working together in Burundi.
Wonderful. So tell us a bit about your organization and what are the things that you're working on in Burundi and why it's so important to have, you know, this youth coalition against gender-based violence in Burundi.
Okay, so our organization, like you said, is called the Youth Coalition Against Gender-Based Violence. It's a youth-led organization made of young people from different backgrounds, and we went together just to try to help women in rural parts of Burundi, and this really is very important, especially because our organization we have a unique, I can say almost a unique approach to try to find a solution to gender-based problems in my country, because we are trying to engage more and more men to join the cause, and I think that this is very, very important. So we are working in rural areas of Bujumbura. We are working with the 8 communities of women, and we are implementing projects on economic development, on the sensitization about the rights of women, and also our activities have so far impacted more than 300 women directly, without mentioning all the people around those women and the communities where they live. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So tell me a bit about what are the different, because we know there are different forms of gender-based violence. What are the most prevalent, you know, types of gender-based violence in the 8 communities that you're working with?
So the most practices of gender-based violence in my country, in the communities where we are working in, is mainly practices like domestic violence. Domestic violence, because in Burundi, our cultural attitude, we have those cultural attitudes that claim women cannot succeed, that claim women are just good to stay at home, and also to just to give birth and to take care of the children and the household chores. So most of the time you find that women are victims of domestic violence, and also victims of discrimination where they live, and also at work. But if we try to see in the rural areas, it's discrimination because of what I said, women are considered like nothing, so they don't have something to say in front of their husbands, in front of other men in the community. So you will find that most of the time they are victim of that. Their husbands consider them like objects, and most of the time you find that it is domestic violence, and also discrimination. But also I can say that because Burundi is a now we are living in a post-conflict period,
Mm-hmm.
and Burundi is a fragile country with experienced many periods of wars, and even now we don't have stability in our country. So most of the time we find that this situation is helping to perpetrate gender-based violence, especially rape and other kind of practices that really are not helping to elevate the status of women in my country, Burundi.
Great. It's I'm really sorry to hear that there's domestic violence is so prevalent in Burundi, but we know that in many post-conflict countries, that domestic violence even increases after the conflict. So it seems like what part of what your group is doing is a very unique approach in terms of working with men to change their perspectives and their behavior as a preventive way to reduce or eliminate violence against women. So how is that working? Are you actually able to get through to men, and do you have examples of, say, men who were beating their wives before, for instance, who have now, become enlightened and their behavior has changed?
Yes, yes, but first of all, I must recognize that when we were at the beginning, it was very, very difficult for us to have many men to support what we were doing. But with the time and with the good result that we were having through our activities, men began to understand that women are really agents of change. That women can help their communities, that women can help their families and their countries, but women can only do so if they are given that opportunity. So most of those women, they didn't used to be given those kind of opportunities to work for the benefit of their families, for the benefit of their communities. But when they began to be given those kind of opportunities, to be given space to talk, to be given space to express themselves, to be given the space to try to work for the benefit of the families, to have small income generating activities, to be given the opportunity to know about their rights. So we came to realize that women can really participate to bring about positive change in their communities, but they need to be given that chance, to be given that opportunity. So it is in this context that men came to see that many women were helping their families through their small income activities, and also through our awareness raising campaigns about the rights of women. Many of the men will work together, and the husbands of many of the women were working together. They began to understand that women are also human beings, and that they need to be respected, they need to be considered as women, and given the chance and the opportunity to realize their full potential. So it is in this context that even men began also to join the groups, because we have many groups of, for example, groups in savings and loans. So the women members of those groups, now they are running small businesses, they are running small income generating activities, and the men, their husbands, now are also benefiting from those kind of activities, and this is why most of them are also joining those groups, because they saw the benefits of doing that. Yes.
That's great. That's great. It's so important, the work that you're doing. And I have to say that as someone who's been working on women's rights, it's always really difficult when you hear, people say that, we have to do work in order for men to really understand that women are human beings, too. But at the same time, I can imagine that for you as a man doing this work, it must be quite difficult, and it must have been, particularly when you started out, I'm sure that it wasn't that easy. And so you must be a very brave soul because there must have been lots of resistance,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you working as a man for women's rights and to end violence against women.
Yes, yes. As I said, it was very difficult for me at the beginning, especially in a society like mine, a patriarchal society, where men has have the role to do everything,
Mm-hmm.
where men want to do everything by their own. So it was very difficult because myself I encountered many problems and challenges. Challenges. There were challenges because there are some people who were saying that I'm crazy. They were treating me the way they wanted, but with the time I persevered because I knew that I was doing, I was beginning to do at that period was worth doing it, and now people are seeing the result, and now people are more likely to come to join us. More people are likely to come to help us and also to join us and to associate with us in our fight to make gender equality a reality in my country, Burundi.
Do you think that, because you come from the younger generation and you're a youth focused organization, that you have a different perspective about, what the relations between men and women, what the gender relations and the gender roles should be than the older generation? And do you find that, there is a difference not only in Burundi, but in your neighboring countries as well? I mean, is there a youth movement in Africa that really appreciates the importance of gender equality and men and women, living and working together in partnership?
Yes, I think our generation now is really understanding the importance of women in our communities. Because if I try to see our generation is trying to to dissociate ourselves from our fathers and grandfathers' cultural attitudes. Because if I try to see, there are many cultural attitudes that we are forgetting. For example, in my country, Burundi. So it means that there are all of those cultural attitudes were at the base of the way women were treated, and also the way women are still treated in some areas, especially in rural areas where they still have those strong beliefs that women are not nothing. But I must also recognize that it is part of our culture. But if I try to see, the younger generation is more and more educated and more aware of the importance of women in the community. And also, I think that this movement is not only in Burundi but also in other countries, neighboring countries, because we have more and more access to education. Even women and girls, they have also more and more access to education. And also, I think that when women are more and more educated, it is one of the steps toward fighting and ending uh, violence against them, but also it is a way for them to try to show men that what a woman can do, what a man can do. Because if a woman can do higher studies, if she can attend big universities, this is a proof that finally what a woman can do, a man too can do, and a woman can do what a man can do. And this is something which is very, very important in this fight to find a solution to end up with violence against women.
It's wonderful to hear you say that a major part of the work that you're doing is really to sort of show that a woman can do what a man can do. Do you really see this movement towards gender equality in your country and the work that your organization is doing? Do you see it as part of the movement towards greater democracy and good governance? If we're talking about men and women being able to have the same rights and the same roles and the same opportunities, and presumably to be in positions where together they can make decisions for the future of their families, their communities, and their country.
Yes, I think that if I try to see, for example, the situation in my country, where, of course, the government introduced the system of quota just to ensure an equal participation and representation of women in positions in government institutions and also in the parliament. So I think that this is a very important step, but we would like really women not only to be given a certain quota, but also we would like women also to have the ability themselves to deserve, to fight for that and to gain even more. Because, for example, in my country, women are given 30%, but I think that if women they are given the possibility to fight for themselves, if more and more women are given the possibility to study, if they are given the possibility to work for their communities, I think that we will have in the coming years more and more women in the government, not only but not because they are given that quota, but because they fought for it and they want more and more. So I think that this is something which will happen if women are if women are continue to be given opportunities, for example, to study, to realize their full potential, and also to be given the opportunities to work, and also the opportunity to have activities for their own instead of just staying at home doing nothing. So I think that it is possible. I think that if we continue like this, I think that if women continue to be given opportunities, they will do more and more for their communities and for their countries.
Wonderful. So our partners are going to be listening to this in the global network, and we have partners in many many countries around the world. What are the top 2 or 3 things that you would say to them are lessons that you've learned about the work that are the kinds of things that you keep in mind every day as you go into communities and work with men and women to transform their lives?
So what I can tell them is that it is possible. It is possible to change people. It is possible to change our communities. It is possible for men also to engage in the work to make gender equality a reality. It is possible because I saw it with my own eyes. Even me, when I began, it was very difficult for me because of our culture, our Burundian culture. It was very difficult for a man to pretend advocating for women. But now I see that through the result, we see that men are now willing to treat their women, for example, as human beings. They are willing now to give them that freedom to be part of associations, and now they are more and more willing to respect their rights. And if I'm saying this, it is in those rural areas where we have people who have strong beliefs in their culture and they don't want to change, but we see that even in those rural areas, people are changing, even if most of them are uneducated, but we see that even uneducated people, even people who strongly believe in their culture can change, and it is possible. So I think that what I can tell them is to keep up with the good work they are doing, to not discourage themselves, to continue, and they must know that slow by slow we will make it.
Wonderful. So tell us, before we go, a little bit about you and, what motivates you and what keeps you going to do this work every day.
Okay, what motivates me and what pushed me to engage in the work to empower, to help women. It is my own story. I think that my own story has a great part in this because personally, I was raised by a stepmother
Mm-hmm.
because my parents divorced when I was still very young, and my father married another woman,
Mm-hmm.
and I was obliged to be raised by that woman. But if I try to see the way people used to think that when a woman is raising a child who is not her,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time she will not treat her like she should. But this stepmother really treated me like her own child.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain moment, my father lost his job,
Mm-hmm.
and it is this stepmother that began to take care of the family, to provide for the family, because she had a small income generating activities. And for many years, my father stayed jobless, and it is this woman who was providing food for the family, paying our school fees, paying the rent of the house in which we were living. So this really showed came to from this I came to realize that women have power. Women can work for their families, for the benefit of their families. They can work for the benefit of their countries, but this is only possible if they are given that chance to do so. So from that example, I came to realize that women can, women have power, women can work, can help their communities, but they need to be supported. They need to be given that chance, to be given that opportunity. So this is why I said I have to do something for this women, because from my own story, I experienced that. I experienced that women, they have force. They are strong, so they can do much. They can do more. They can do anything for their families, but we need to support them. So this is why I said to myself, I must do something for vulnerable women in rural areas in my country.
Ms. Fikiri, I think we need to thank your stepmother, because if it wasn't for your stepmother, you might not be here today, and you would not have the youth coalition doing the good work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think we've learned three things today. We've learned that, as you say, women have power, right? And when the environment is an enabling one, women will use their power, and they'll use it for the good of their families and their communities. That it is possible to transform societies and change all of these negative behaviors and the masculinity that leads to violence, right? That it is possible for communities to change. And third, that we need to not give up. Right? We need to always have hope as we're working in communities, because even though change is possible, sometimes it takes time. Right?
Yes.
So we want to thank you for all the good work that you're doing. We want to encourage you to continue to do that good work.
Okay.
And we will continue to let people know about the important work that you're doing, because you're such a wonderful role model, not only for young men in Burundi, but for men all over the world. So thank you for the work that you do.
Yes, thank you too, because you two are doing amazing job, amazing work for the communities in which you are working. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.